My name is Kay, and I am a messenger of the universe. Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Even if you're new here, this is not the first time that our souls have crossed paths. Welcome back, y'all. So in this reading, this is going to be part 2 of the character energy read. I'm going to be using the same books that I used in part 1. It's going to be The Nerd's Luna / The Luna's Nerd and Taken by an Alpha / Hell and Back. And so I'm going to be using the same books, but I'm going to be analyzing each one under different characters. And yeah, so the first episode I went more into the female characters. So in this half I'm going to be going into the male counterparts of the female characters. So yeah, without further ado, if you guys resonate with either of these cards, the Hermit or the Death card, stay tuned for your reading. And yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with group number 1. Peace. I would also like to include that this video is going to discuss the masculine energies that you take on regardless of your gender. When you are more so in your masculine energy, what traits or roles do you tend to take on more of? This can discuss that, but keep in mind that this is going to resonate differently for everyone that's watching. And as for the part 1, I discussed the feminine traits and the feminine role that you tend to take on when you're more so in your feminine energy with my female characters. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Peace. Peace to my lovely ravens that selected group number 1. Welcome to your reading on your character energy read. So you guys selected the Hermit under the books, under the analyzation of the books, The Nerd's Luna and The Luna's Nerd. So let's go ahead and get started on your reading. So you guys selected the Hermit card, and the character for this Hermit card is named Tyler, or Tyler Woods to be exact here. So you guys can be a Virgo here, Sun, Moon, or Rising. So Tyler is a very introverted person. He definitely prefers to be on his own. He kind of just chills on his own, does his own thing. He's also very artistic as well. He likes to draw. And yeah, like honestly, he's kind of like a very introverted kid. He's a wallflower type of personality, and he just prefers to like do his own thing and like be on his own. And mainly the reason why he's so introverted is because he went through a really rough time as a kid, and he kind of just grew up naturally just being a loner. So he went through like a traumatizing incident when he was younger, and it kind of made him more introverted. But we're going to get more into that as we analyze this card here. So the Hermit card definitely represents his character, in my opinion, because the Hermit card represents, like, to me, a period of introspection, and when we really take the time out to change ourselves and to really be on our own. And I feel like the Hermit card also indicates here that your energy as the main character, you may want to be behind the scenes. You may be someone that prefers to work behind the scenes, or maybe you don't want to necessarily be in the spotlight. You just prefer to be on your own, or you prefer to just be more introverted in nature. So yeah, and some of you guys could also, like, when you get nervous, you might stutter as well, because in the book, Tyler stuttered like a lot. It was kind of like a part of his character. Like the fact that he stuttered so much when he was speaking, because he wasn't really confident in what he had to say. Like he didn't really start speaking up for himself until he developed more in the second book, I feel. But I mean, that's just my personal opinion of it. So definitely in your main character energy, you might be someone that just prefers to work behind the scenes, or you just prefer to kind of be on your own and be more artistic. And you know, you may like to draw or color or be more creative, in tune with your creative side here. Group number 1. So yeah, group number 1 in their main character energy, Tyler Woods. What is group number 1 like in their main character energy? You guys might also be very like intellectually stimulated, or you might like things such as like reading books or video games. Group number 1, their main character energy spirit. Okay, so I do see that you're in your main character energy. You're represented by the 5 of Cups and the 8 of Pentacles. So in your main character energy, you come off as like a very hardworking individual, but you just might prefer, people might see you as someone that someone that can be more on the pessimistic side, or more like on the, you prefer like to see things the half is glass, and the glass is half empty instead of half full. So I feel like sometimes people feel like maybe you cling on to the past, or you focus on what you've lost. That's what it is. So I see that your main character energy, sometimes you tend to dwell on the past as well. And again, like bringing this back to Tyler as a character, in this book he did go through like a traumatic past, and he would kind of mention it at times, where he kind of went through an incident where he lost both of his parents, and he was like a part of the accident. It was a car accident, and he kind of used to dwell on that a lot, and it was kind of like the reason why he just preferred to stay to himself, and he just kind of just stayed mainly to himself and with his family, his older brother, Titus, I believe that was what his name, yeah. But anyway, I do see in your main character energy, you just might prefer to like just be a loner type of energy. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. I know some people that actually like really prefer to be that type of personality. They don't really like to be in the spotlight or anything. And, you know, that's just their energy. And also, again, there's a hardworking energy here. So it's like, even if you're not really speaking to people about what you're going through, or speaking about these disappointments, you're definitely like someone that works behind the scenes to like make your dreams real. I do feel like people always feel like you're up to something when you're in your main character energy. You're up to something behind the scenes, even if it appears on the outside that you're not really up to anything. I do see like your main character energy is hardworking, and again, taking your time as well, taking the time to grow and plant the seeds necessary. So in your side character energy, which is when you're supporting others in their main character energy, what is your character like? Side character energy for group 1. Group 1 side character energy. So when Tyler was a side character energy, he kind of took the back seat in most of his affairs. He kind of like was really silent, and he kind of just let other people vent when he was in his main character energy. He was kind of like there for people when they were like going out of control, or they couldn't handle their emotions. He was kind of there to like diffuse the situation, because he was like more calm natured, and his brother was more like hot tempered. So he was very like the mediator of situations. So I feel like your side character energy could be a mediator in helping others calm down. Especially you might help extroverts in particular calm down. If you're more introverted in nature, you might be an extrovert or an introvert that is a good listener or good at mediating. And I also feel here that in your side character energy, you also support others when they're going through their own turmoils. Like specifically when relationships are ending, you might notice a lot of people tend to come to you and discuss relationship issues, or like even marriage issues. And like if they're going through a divorce or like problems within relationships, people like kind of come to you for it, because they feel like you have good advice or good input or perspective. And I also feel like a lot of people trust your guidance in their pain, or they trust your perspective, because maybe you've just been through a lot and you kind of have had your own lessons and things to learn that you've learned from, and they feel like you are someone that holds valuable knowledge or information that can help them as well. So your side character energy supports a lot of people, in which you help other people when they're in their main character energy stay uplifted and stay healed and stay positive and focused on their goals. So let's see. We also have supporting character energy. So how you support other characters, whether you realize it or not, how you support everyone in your life, basically. So let's see. I'm trying to think of an instance where Tyler was a supportive character. I feel like honestly, Tyler was kind of like a supportive character for everyone, because he was very kind, like Nicole in a way. He was very kind, but he was also like the type of kind person that's like, he's just very present for people. he just would be there for others. He wasn't necessarily like, he wasn't really emotional necessarily, but he was present for others, and he was there for others when they needed him. And he was a really good friend. So you definitely are a good friend. People would regard you as a good friend, someone that gives good advice, or just a good person a good ear to listen to, you know. So let's see, supportive character energy for group 1. How they support others. Yeah, I feel like you help others start following their intuition more, and you help others start trusting what they know more. And I feel like you help other people see things from a different perspective, or from a unique perspective as well. You kind of shed insight, and I feel like your insight may not be very like, I feel like your guidance may be more practical in the way that you deliver it. It might not be super emotional or just full of spiritual wisdom or insight necessarily, but it has its own weight to it, where it's not spiritual, but it's also like practical and logical, and it's good advice to have and good information to be aware of. So I feel like people appreciate in your supportive character energy that you give practical insight and practical knowledge is what it is. And yeah, you give a lot of clarity, clear insight, and clear wisdom. Like, this is how it is, and you know, it's like, it's very straightforward. I feel you support other people in the way that you deliver your information or advice, and you give it in a very clear way, in a straightforward way that helps others understand easily, especially when they're at a crossroads in their life and they don't know how to move forward. And then lastly, your antagonist energy. So when Tyler wasn't very much really an antagonist per se. I feel like the only time he was an antagonist was when people, this was honestly, when you're in your antagonist energy, I feel like it might take a lot to really push you into this energy. But when you do become an antagonist in your life, it's always mainly for yourself, like to protect yourself, like for self-defensive purposes, like to make sure your energy is good and you're doing well, and things like of that nature. Because the only time Tyler really stood up for himself was when it was like really necessary, when he started to catch feelings for Nicole, so he started to defend her as well against his brother. So he really started to stand up for himself and become an antagonist when he would argue with his own brother and like kind of fight with his own brother about that situation. So group number 1 in their antagonist energy, I'm seeing like a controlling energy, like you like to be in more control, or you take control in your antagonist energy. And I feel like some of y'all might be like that one introverted person. This might not be everyone, but that introverted person that's a little underestimated as well. Like, people don't really expect this side of you, but when it does come out, it's like full force, like ain't no stopping me. Yeah, so you might be an underestimated strength as well. Like, people don't ever see you coming necessarily, but once you're there, it's like boom, knock you off your feet. But your antagonist energy knows how to like just get what it wants. Literally, like it's about getting what you want. Nothing else really matters in your antagonist energy. So when you're working against yourself or others, I feel like it's mainly about like just getting what you want. It doesn't really matter what you have to do to get there. It's just like getting what you want is the focus here. And you may not be able to see things clearly when you're on that way of getting there. And you might even lie or cheat or steal in order to get there as well in your antagonist energy. But I do see that it's mainly just about the focus is just getting what you want, a little selfish and like self-serving in a way that may not benefit others. So there you go, group number 1. I really hope this resonated for you all. If it did, drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. My name is Kay. I had the pleasure of being your reader today, and I hope to catch you in my next video. Peace. Peace to my lovely ravens that selected group number 2, also the death card, and Damien. I don't remember his last name, but his name is Damien. It doesn't even matter because I barely used his last name in the book. It was barely relevant. So anyway, so you guys chose the death card, and I feel like this death card definitely represents Damien. He's definitely like Scorpio energy to me. Like I would say he's like a Virgo rising, Scorpio moon or something, like, and probably like a Capricorn sun. Oh my gosh, Capricorn sun. In my opinion, like that's how I would portray his character if I gave him a zodiac chart. But he's definitely very different. Okay, his energy is very intense and very different, and he's very, very powerful. And I feel like Damien is almost like, he reminds me of this skeleton here that's sitting on this horse, and it's kind of like just giving me this vibe of someone that's very intense, very dark, but deep, and definitely experienced, someone with a lot of experience or knowledge of some sort. And to discuss Damien as a character, Damien was definitely extremely charming, and he was someone who was also, he was kind of a loner type, and he was a very self-proclaimed loner as well, because he got a lot of attention because he was the leader of his pack, but he preferred to like do things on his own and to be like kind of a loner, like a lone wolf. So he did take a lot of time to himself. And when I say time to himself, I mean like he would literally just like leave unannounced, like not telling anyone. He would literally just like leave and just come back whenever he wanted. And no one said anything because he was like, you know, the guy, the man. So like they were like, oh, we can't say anything. He's like the boss man. So, you know, he kind of just did whatever he wanted, but he still took a lot of good care of his people, and he cared a lot about his pack, and he made sure to like, you know, keep his ducks in a row when it came to taking care of his pack and performing his job as the alpha. And so moving deeper into his personality, I feel like Damien is someone with a lot of wisdom, and like we don't really get to see a lot of him in the book, but there's like glimpses of who he is, and it's like, you know, there's always more to him, there's always like more to learn, there's always like more to know about him. So he's a very like deep and mysterious person. And with the death card here, so he's definitely been through like so many deaths and rebirths in his life, because he technically is immortal in this story, and he's also like one of the most powerful people in the world type of thing. And so like a lot of people are intimidated by him and they fear him, but he actually is a very like soft, kind-hearted person on the inside, but he doesn't show it to anyone except for his love, Elena, which we'll get into later. But anyway, so this character energy might resonate with you. Damien is just very deep, mysterious. He can be a little dark, a little like and he's very like analytical. He analyzes everything and he thinks about everything very deeply. He can also be too serious sometimes. Like Elena's the opposite of him, because she's like really funny and witty and quirky. So like she kind of makes him more like, you know, less serious, and she makes him laugh. So I feel like that's good. You know, that's kind of what makes them very compatible, because they're not like exactly the same. And ironically enough, Damien, again, like I said, he's used to people like just doing whatever for him and kind of like following his lead. And Elena's like the only person in his life that really has a backbone and that really has told him no and stood their ground. So I feel like that's part of the reason. He would probably never admit it, but it's definitely part of the reason why he's like attracted to her, because like she has a backbone and she is not afraid to tell him no and like to stand her ground. Like she was like one of the only people that like would stand up to him and that would tell him no. And even though it would make him mad at first, he kind of like realized like, dang, like I kind of needed this, because she kind of keeps him in shape, you know, like, because sometimes he can be really heartless as well, and he doesn't really realize like he's being like very like apathetic about things, and she kind of gives him a more humane side of things, because she's a human and he's like an immortal person, so he's not really connected to his emotional self either. He can be very detached with his emotions, and it can make him very apathetic. But I feel like Elena brings out the more humane side of him and like his emotions and stuff, so it makes him like kind of think things clearly more and like care more about people in a way. So Damien, so let's see how y'all are in your main character energy. Y'all are typically tend to be leaders more than followers. People tend to follow you, and I also feel like people may also feel intimidated by you in your main character energy. I do feel like you are someone that you're also a leader that's very like protective of self. So you are very self-aware, I would say, as a leader in your main character energy. So how is this group in their main character energy? Oh my gosh. And also in your main character energy, you may talk more and be more social. And I feel like in your other energy, you might be more quiet and introverted, because Damien did prefer to like be observant, and he only really spoke when he had like something important to say. Like he didn't really like small talk or anything. He would just kind of sit there awkwardly because he was just like, he didn't really care. So group number 1 in their main character energy, very bold. Like it's like people notice you in your main character energy. People just, it's like people can sense your presence, you know? Yeah, triumphant success, and the rest and rejuvenate. So I feel like in your main character energy, again, you can be very social, talkative, and I feel like you come through in your main character energy as someone that speaks with something important to say. So people do hold weight to what you say in your main character energy, and people like tend to care more about what the words you are saying, basically. So people might pay a lot of attention to when you do speak, because you, especially if you don't speak unless you do have something important to say, like you don't speak that much. And we also have rest and rejuvenate. So I feel like in your main character energy, you also are, again, self-interested partially, because it's mainly like about you and you taking the time out that you need to recharge. So I feel like in your main character energy, again, you still are like taking care of yourself, and you're still, you would still take the time out to like connect with yourself and become self-aware. So in your main character energy, it's like there's like a flip side to it. So I do feel like your personality is probably very complex, very deep, this group particularly. So I feel like your main character energy is very like just intense as well, because people might have a hard time understanding you or understanding your character. So group number, so this is the main character energy. Okay, let's talk about the supporting character energy. So basically the supporting character is when you are, how you help others in your life, how you have supported others in your life. To think about Damien under the scope of a supporting character, I feel like Damien was very protective, and I feel like that's how he supported others. He showed his care through the way that he protected his loved ones. Like he would protect Elena unlike anyone else. He would protect his family unlike anyone else. Like he wouldn't do those things for anyone else unless like he actually felt something for them or he cared about them, you know? So I feel like in your supportive character energy, people do appreciate you protecting them and you looking out for them, especially when they're not even looking out for themselves. Because sometimes Elena would like end up in situations where she like didn't really think it through clearly, and Damien would kind of help her get out of it. And he was kind of like the savior. He kind of saved her at times. So I feel like your supportive character energy is like, people feel like you kind of help them and you protect and save them in a way. So group 2 in their supportive character energy. How do they support others? Also, you might be there for others when they're experiencing some sort of emotional loss or pain, or like going through shadow work of some sort, or like just going through a dark time in life. Because again, like with this death card, I feel like you're someone that's very experienced, or you know, you've had your fair share of losses or, you know, experiences in life to where people feel comfortable enough to discuss maybe death even, because this is the death card. And like again, Damien is very like, he's not a dark person, but he just has been through some stuff, and it just kind of, you know, it made him like kind of mature a lot. So group 2 in their supportive character energies. I feel like a lot of people in your main character energy as well, like want to be around you and maybe want to kind of like throw, I don't know why I'm getting like someone throwing themselves at you. For some of y'all, you just might get that, like people kind of like throwing themselves at you and trying to gain access to you in any sort of way. Some of y'all might get really annoyed by that too, because I kind of felt that come through. So we also have triumph and emotional loss. Yeah, that's why I mentioned people might come to you when they're like going through something, some sort of emotional loss, or experiencing death or grief or some sort, grief or loss. So I do feel that your supportive character energy is like you just help people keep pushing through like any struggles that they're experiencing in life. This is how others remember that you've supported them in their life, regardless of if they're still in your life or not. I feel like you give others inspiration to keep going, and you kind of like give that push and that necessary push that people need when they're like going through a hard time, in order to like keep going, or to keep believing in themselves, and believing that they'll heal and they can go through a process of learning and finding the truth, or finding closure, or gaining closure in some sort of way. So yeah, let's also talk about your side character energy, which is how you support other main characters in your life when they're in their main character energy. I feel like whenever Damien was very like self-sacrificial, even though he wouldn't necessarily come off that way. He would actually like die for his loved ones, like without thinking about it, especially like Elena, because he really did like love her in the story. So I do feel like in your side character energy, you may be very like self-sacrificial for others, and like in order to help others like move up or go somewhere, or to keep going, you may like actually like maybe sacrifice certain parts of yourselves to see the people that you love are happy, basically. So group 2, their side character energy. Very intuitive. Oh, 2. That's what I just peeped at. But I do feel like, okay, your side character is very intuitive, like probably an intuitive guide for other main characters as well, like probably giving great input or insight on like how to lead or guide others as well. When other people are trying to be in their main character energy, I feel like people could come to you for like leadership advice, or like how help in starting somewhere, or learning about certain things, and like where to go and what choices to make, basically. And I feel like in your side character energy, you also, I'm trying to figure out what this movement, choices, and decisions. In your side character energy, you may tend to make more changes in your life than you do in your main character energy. Like you may probably, like you might tend to be, for example, you might usually be someone that's more rigid in what you do. Like you don't really bend your rules, or like bend what you believe or think for just anyone. But in your side character energy, when other people are in their main character energy, you might tend to take the back seat more, and you might bend your rules more, especially for people that you care about. Like you might be willing to do things that you usually wouldn't do for others, you know? So I feel like this is more so about you becoming more flexible in your side character. Yes, you're in your side character energy. Like deciding to be more flexible, because I feel like usually Damien is a more rigid person. Like it's just like, it's his way or the highway. Like especially in his main character energy, like he doesn't really care. It's like, nah, it's going like this, and there's no discussion, basically. And then in the side character, he's more so like, okay, well, whatever. If you really care about this, like if Elena really cared about something and she would like fight tooth and nail for it, he would be like, okay, whatever, like you can have it, basically. So next, let's talk about your antagonist energy. Oh my gosh, let's talk about your antagonist energy. I feel like honestly, Damien kind of came off as very dark and detached and kind of cold and distant, but he was actually probably like the most loving person. Like he was just very misunderstood, because again, he was very powerful. People like feared him naturally, so it was just like he didn't really have, it was just kind of like just a natural thing for him. Like people just kind of naturally would fear him, and like probably they would kiss up to him a lot. He wasn't really used to people having a backbone like Elena did. So I do feel like in his antagonist energy, like he would be the bad guy and he didn't really care, like, if he had to look like that, if that made sense. Like, even if he knew that what he was doing was for the greater good of himself or for Elena, like, he would take the role as bad guy, quote unquote, if it meant, like, you know, just someone, if someone had to take the blame, he would, like, basically take the blame for it, like, and he wouldn't complain, or he wouldn't, you know, he was just self-sacrificial in a way. Like, it was like he would take the heat for something that really he didn't really do, or he didn't really, you know, it was just like, you know, someone has to take the blame here. It was basically like, someone has to take the blame here, and he would be willing to take the blame even if he didn't really do anything, or he didn't do what he was being blamed for, okay? I feel like I'm over explaining. I'm so sorry, y'all, if you're like, this girl is like explaining the same point like 50 times, because like I don't even know, y'all. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like in your antagonist energy, it's like this energy of like, I'll be the bad guy if I have to, like, whatever. Oh, kind of breaks my heart in a way. Y'all don't deserve this. Don't deserve it. Damien is just misunderstood. That's my take on it. So anyway, your antagonist energy. So, antagonist, mental conflict, memories of love, and transformation. Okay, so I feel like your antagonist energy, I feel like in your antagonist energy, it might be more difficult for you to connect to your heart space and connect to your heart chakra, and to really connect to how you feel. And so you tend to take more logical approaches to things. And I feel like when Damien was really an antagonist was when he would like basically just do things against someone's will, but it was still in his mind, it was like he was doing the right thing, but to someone else it was like he was being overbearing, or he was being like, he was just doing the most, you know? So I feel like in your antagonist energy, other people could see you as like overbearing, or just like overprotective, or just like people just be like, what's going on in that like mind of yours? Like, people are just creating a lot of mental conflict in trying to understand you, or trying to understand something that like maybe you don't even quite understand yourself, you know? And with the memories of love, I feel you could also be kind of stuck on the past when it comes to your antagonist energy. Like, you might project the past onto other people. Like, you might be like, well, if someone does something to you in the past, then why wouldn't someone else do it to you in the future? And you might like project that onto people. Like, that's just an example. And yeah, I do feel like you just might be more stuck on the past when it comes to your antagonist energy. Like, you just might be like, nah, like nothing changes. Everything's going to be the same, like, you know? And then at the same time, in your antagonist energy, I also feel like, I kind of think it's funny, this transformation card came out, and death is your card, okay? I kind of like that, because this ends the reading too. So this is like the end. And it's kind of ironic because he kind of dies at the end too, and he like goes through a death and a transformation, okay? I kind of spoiled it, but it's okay. But anyway, but yeah, in your antagonist energy, it's kind of like you transforming. You're always transforming through any ending you experience, and through the endings in your life, okay? And yeah, that's crazy. I kind of find that really interesting. So yeah, group number 2, I really hope this resonated for you all. If it did, drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. My name is Kay. I had the pleasure of being your reader today, and I hope to catch you in my next video. Peace.